What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast, episode number 95. If you are new to the podcast, don't forget to hit the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe as well. And a massive shout out to everybody who has subscribed, because we have finally, Dave, hit over 1,000 subscribers on the channel. So massive thank you to every single person that subscribed recently, because it's just, I never thought that we would get to this point. And so, it's just incredible. So thank you to everybody that tunes in every week. It's going to be a slightly different show tonight, because we are joined by Russ and Rossi from the FPL show that we do on a Wednesday night. And so we will be talking a little bit about Arsenal, a little bit about United, and quite a bit about Spurs. So let's introduce everybody. So Dave, welcome back. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Nice and relaxed. Going on holiday tomorrow. Tottenham send me off with a win. So, yeah, I'm all good.
Amazing. Love that. And Rossi, how are you?
Yeah, can't say anything about Man United winning, but yeah, I'm all right.
Used to that though, mate.
Yeah, it's come natural now.
Russ, reluctantly, are you well?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Cheers for having me on tonight and that. Yeah,
Yes, respect of having that on a Tottenham channel behind him, though.
Well, got to have it, boys.
Definitely. Awesome. Right. Let's actually go shout out to a couple of people in the chat, because Jay's here nice and early, said good evening, and what a win. Come on, you Spurs. And then
Evening, Jay.
That's my daughter. That's my
Hi.
daughter.
Evening to Dave's daughter in the chat. If you are in the chat, get your comments in. We will try and read out as many as we can. Dave, let's start with the first game of the season, Monday night, away at Leicester. You know, everybody predicted in our chat that we would win on Monday night. We didn't. Jamie Vardy was there to spoil the party. What were your thoughts on the Leicester game as a whole? Like, because we did dominate the first half, but it was like, from my opinion, it was like classic Spurs of old, like knocking on the door, but just can't finish the game.
Firstly, I just want to say, Jamie Vardy, you're an absolute dickhead. I can't stand him. But I had to get that out there. In fairness, mate, it just reminded me a lot of last season. The way Tottenham have been in terms of dominating a game in that sense, not being able to take chances. But I wasn't too distraught. I mean, we were poor second half. First half, we looked really, really good. Couldn't finish our dinner, which is standard Tottenham. But I don't know what happens. It's like we just fall apart. We just like collapse, and this weird shift happens, and I can't explain it. I really can't explain it. It baffles me. But I was frustrated at the end of the game. But sorry, laughing at Jay's comment. I was frustrated by the game, and then Jamie Vardy just pissed me off even more. So I turned it off before the end. I had the right ump as normal, but yeah, like I said to you, I think Isuma was a huge miss. He was an idiot, got banned, suspended from the club for his stupidity. Rebecca Vardy leaking his balloon incident. But it's yeah, I think other than that, mate, it wasn't a terrible performance. I thought Solanke looked pretty good. I don't really know what's happened with him. He hasn't been injured at all in years, and whenever a player comes to Tottenham, they seem to get injured. I don't know what happens, but yeah, realistically, it is what it is. We didn't go off to a start. We didn't lose. It was away from home. Leicester's first game back in the Premier League. The crowd were up for it, so yeah, it is what it is, mate. It's done. I think if we play that game Saturday or Sunday and Vardy doesn't play, we win. Simple.
Yeah. No, fair enough, mate. I tend to agree with certain aspects of that. I do also like that you stole my joke, so I'll let you have credit for that this week.
Yeah, new week, mate.
All the time.
But it was a really frustrating performance, because I think in the first half, we really showed as a team how we can play, and it was pretty much, I would say, the strongest lineup we could have gone for. But we did speak about it last week, where we said, is that the best lineup in current form of players? And we do tend to really, really, really struggle against low blocks. And fair play to Leicester, they defended really well. And we just couldn't score. But we need, when that happens, we have to find another gear. And we have to then be able to say, okay, let's take more shots from outside of the box, like we saw against Everton. But credit to Jamie Vardy, 37, and still knows how to absolutely grind everybody. So it's over. It is what it is, and we'll move on. But Rossi, as an outsider, what were your thoughts on the Spurs Leicester game?
Well, firstly, you got to love Jamie Vardy for doing that. The old arm one. That's class. You want that. But yeah, look, any other day, Tottenham win that 4-5-0, 4-5-1. You know, it's one of them things. Unfortunately, they didn't have it that day. I think Basuma's a massive miss that day. I really rate him. I've rated him since he was at Brighton. I thought he was decent. This weekend we'll get onto that, I suppose. But his big miss, and it's always the problem with Tottenham is forward is always decent, going backwards is always dodgy. And I think the thing for Tottenham has always been their mentality. Realistically, is that can they if they're not 2 or 3 up, they start to worry, they start to panic. Yeah. And you can't even moan and say you've got a bad defence, because I think you've got a pretty good defence now.
Yeah.
It's just keeping that clean sheet and keeping that mentality to say, we will score. We've missed 4, 5, 6 good opportunities, but we will get there, we will score. And that's the mentality that you need to go in and win games and win cups and semi-finals, finals, things like that will come with that mentality.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and that's it. And I completely agree to that degree. Like, there has always been that certain thing missing from Spurs, but it doesn't matter who the personnel are. You can get rid of every single player that's played over the last 6-7 years, and that for some reason it will still resonate. You know, when Leicester scored, I don't even think they had a shot on target in the first half, and then as soon as they score, they could have gone, scored 2 or 3 more goals. You know, it was we were really
we were lucky. We were lucky. Bentancur knocked himself out, mate, to give us a chance to regroup.
Yeah, you were under the cosh at that point. Yeah.
And Russ, what were your thoughts from an Arsenal perspective? Well, I can't believe I'm asking this question.
To be fair, it was like a game of 2 halves. First half, Tottenham absolutely dominated them. James Maddison looked really up for it. Porro looked really good. And then, like you say, second half come out. It's like what I feel with Spurs is Spurs have to score 2 or 3 to stand a chance of winning. That's what I see. If they get 1, then you always feel like they could get defeated and things like that. But like I say, as soon as Vardy scored, he could have had another one just before he got taken off, which was a good save from Vicario. But yeah, game of 2 halves.
Yeah, 100%. When Vardy was put for on goal, I thought, I can't be dealing with this first game of the season. It was like, I'll just turn it off and not even bother watching the rest of the season, to be honest. But it was a 1-1 draw.
What do you think of the game? I don't know. I didn't watch it. That's a bit of fin.
It was a 1-1 draw, and look, could have been worse, could have been better. But I think you're right, Dave. I think Solanke had an all right debut. He had a couple of good chances. That was a header that he really should have been a bit more composed and scored. But I felt like his hold-up play, link-up play was good. Just a real shame that he's picked up that knock, but hopefully just precautionary, and he'll be back against Newcastle.
Got a quick question, right? And you can all answer this. Like I talk about players getting injured at Tottenham. Do you think it has any reflection on the way Ange wants them to play? That really high intensity, that high pressing. If a player like Solanke coming from Bournemouth, who doesn't really do it in that way, do you think it has an impact on players when they do come into the club and they're forced to play that way, that they're more susceptible to getting strains and things like that?
I think, this one, I think Ange just said he got someone rolled over the top of his ankle, didn't they? So I think that's just an impact injury. I think from what I read over the weekend, someone just rolled over the top of his ankle quite early in the game, and he kept going, which obviously it's going to swell up. As soon as you stop, it's just going to swell up. So, but there is logic in that, because as a United fan, look at us last year, injury after injury after injury after injury, and you're thinking, is he training them too hard? And it's the same with Tottenham, with any team in reality. But I think for Solanke, I think it was just unfortunate this weekend, or last weekend, should I say?
Yeah, I think I tend to agree in that sense. We did see quite a few injuries, hamstrings and other long-term injuries last season, but some of them were, like, if we look at Bentancur, for example, he'd just come back, and then that was a collision that caused that. Yeah. But Van der Ven, potentially it could happen at any point because of how fast he is and how.
I think that was a lot of VAR though, wasn't it? There was a big VAR break before he'd done his hamstring, where he got cold again, then started running again. Obviously, you run at his speed, he's
rapid.
So, he's rapid, mate. But yeah, I don't know. Russ, what do you think? Has got anything to do with Ange's tactics or just part of the game?
Just part of the game, mate.
Yeah, fair enough. Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
Boys, I'm going to get well confused throughout this, by the way. I have to keep checking to make sure I'm going to get your names right. So apologies if I mix you up.
Right.
But let's move on and talk about yesterday's game before we talk about Arsenal and United. Because, Dave, I don't think...
Sorry, I've got to point this out because I get this all the time.
Oh,
Yeah,
he does.
I am Zelensky's twin, I'm telling you.
he is definitely.
Parveen's asked a question, but there's not really an answer to suggest why you look like him.
Yeah, I don't know. Same dad, probably. My dad got
It's
him
not
out.
why, he is him.
But yeah, let's talk about yesterday's game, 4-0 win at home over Everton. Like, this is the type of Spurs side that you will see, Jekyll and Hyde under Ange Postecoglou, and that's the real thing is, we can go and blow teams out of the water, and you can look at and say, oh, this Everton team's poor. The fact they haven't got any finances to really buy any players, the fact that the owner doesn't really want to own them anymore, and so on and so forth. But you still have to go out and put the performance on. But Dave, Andrew made a few substitutions. Obviously, brought in Sonny to play, as in moved Sonny across to play through the middle. He played really attacking lineup with Odegaard, Johnson, Kulusevski, and James Maddison. And obviously, Basuma came back in as well.
Yeah.
What did you make of that lineup? And do you think that having that many attacking players could be something that we see regularly, or do you think that we could get battered by some teams playing that way?
Yeah, and I always talk about Ange at Celtic, and that's just the way he plays. That is just Ange. He likes good attacking football, the ball to move forward. I won't talk about Odegaard. I was going to, but I know these boys have wrote some notes, so I'll let them talk about Odegaard. But I think the key for Tottenham yesterday was Biss.
Yeah.
I thought he was outstanding. From what I saw. So I missed the first 15 minutes of the game, but from what I saw of his performance yesterday, he was outstanding, and he had a point to prove as well. So he had the bit between his teeth. His goal was unbelievable. So I think he really helped us tick yesterday. I'm quite excited to see the Sarr and Basuma midfield again, because I think last season that was one of the best two in the league, in my opinion. They complement each other so well. But I like the attacking stuff. I want to see attacking football. As Tottenham fans, we always say to dare is to do. You got to actually dare. I mean, we've never really done it, but at the moment we're just too dare. Maybe the to do will come at some point. But I like it. I'm not a bit of a fan of Son through the middle, but with no Solanke. He obviously didn't fancy Richie, which I kind of would have thrown him in there against Everton, in my opinion, but we won the game. So, yeah, I don't mind it, mate. I think it's good. Like I said, the crop of youngsters we've got, Gray, Bergval, to come into the team as well. Yeah, it's good. I want to see more attacking football. I want to see goals. As long as we win the game, I don't care if it's a basketball score. I couldn't care less. As long as we win.
Yeah. See, with that Spurs team, I would have thought that's probably the best you can outfield, I think. Minus Solanke for probably Brendan Johnson. Spurs looked good yesterday. They looked really good. That midfield looked decent. Basuma absolutely bossed the game as well, I thought. Absolutely bossed
about
it.
Brennan, very quickly about Brennan. I don't see what everyone else sees in Johnson. I don't see this top player. I think he reminds me of Aaron Lennon. Like, he's really quick, can get down the line, but then when it comes to crossing the ball or having a shot, you might as well put me there.
I've got a theory on Brennan Johnson.
Be any worse.
I think that he really needs a kind of father style figure, and he really craves off confidence, because you can see often when he plays the ball and it doesn't go well for him, and the camera pans in, you often see his face like he could quite easily give up to some degree, and I think he really needs a couple of games of outstanding performances to really get him into a position where he can do it week in, week out. But the issue is that he's not going to get that time, because the likelihood is Kulusevski will probably come in and take his place, because he looks hungry for it, and you had a good
Ready.
game yesterday as well.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Rossi?
Yeah.
Oh.
Go on, mate.
No, I thought Russ or Ross.
Rossi, sorry.
No, yeah, I love Spurs attack. I love the manager. I think, when he first come, everyone was saying, "Oh, hello, mate," and all like this, just because he's got a good vibe, don't mean nothing. But I think he's brought the team together well, and I think, regardless what team you watch or support or play for, you want attacking football. You want to win games for free. You know what I mean? You want that, and I think he brings a level of that, and I think the Spurs attack bring a level of that. On the Johnson situation, I rate him. I think he's got something, and I think he will come good. And I totally agree with you, Luke. I think he needs an arm around him. I think he needs a couple of good performances, a goal here, an assist there, and all of a sudden you're in my starting team. You're in my starting team 3, 4, 5 games in a row. And I think he gets the smile, he gets the confidence, and I think he goes. But then, like you said, also on the flip side of that, you've got Kulusevski, who's doing it now, who's skinning people, who's assisting. I mean, the goal for Basuma, we've talked about Basuma, I rate him. But the goal for Basuma, quick feet from Kulusevski, just lays it off, lovely. Brendan Johnson probably isn't doing that. He's probably going down the line to try and whip the ball in or try and get a penalty or something like that. But I do like him. I like Tottenham. I'm not sure, as much as I like the youngsters you've got, I don't think it takes you to the level you need to be at. I think at the moment you need to be bringing people off the bench that you're pretty confident can get you a goal, can get you an assist. And I don't think you got that. I like your 2 youngsters. I think they're good. But it's just, they're not game changers yet. They're perfect for the 2-0, 3-0 up with 70 minutes on the clock. Get them in the game. They got confidence. They chill. They can relax and play their football. But I don't think they're game changers at the moment. So I think for me, with Tottenham, it is a case of strengthening that squad. And Older Bar, is that his name?
He's terrible for names.
The reason I brought it up, Luke, right, is our FPL show, mate. Look, Ross kills everyone with his pronunciations. He literally kills them.
They know what I mean. That's the main thing.
This is a Rossi and Russ. Luke, you won't get the idea here, but
who's Scotty?
Remember Scotty? Up your Scotland. That's our old football team, Luke.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think Tottenham are in for a good season. I just think that great season, so to speak, for Tottenham, that break in the top 4, 5 for guaranteed. I think your subs bench is a little bit weak, but you got 4-0 against Everton. The problem is Everton, isn't it? Brighton.
Yeah, they got half the squad injured.
And I think the big thing for your season, I know it's so early in the season to say this, but I think you got Newcastle, Arsenal, Brighton, United, Palace, something like that in the next 5 or 6. They're big games because you got 2 or 3 of the people that realistically are going to go 4, 5 and 6 this year or look for them positions. So I think that's interesting for the next 5 weeks for Tottenham. But I do like him and I love Ange. I think he's great.
Awesome. Quick question for everybody. Actually, do you know what? I'll just ask you guys, Russ and Rossi. But start with you, Russ. Who would you recommend Spurs should sign? One signing that you think that they should sign. Who do you think they should sign? If we're saying that the kids are not the ready product now.
Probably Eze. I think he'd suit Tottenham. Eze would be decent with him and Maddison, and then Eze would be my first choice for Tottenham.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Rossi?
I think that's good, but I don't think he'll go there because I think other teams will be after him. I think right now it's a no-brainer in the market. Go and get Sterling. Absolute no-brainer.
That's a shout
for me. I think he's got the experience. On his day, he's a good player. He's been there, and like I say, even if he is coming to be on that bench for now, who are you going to put on? Your 19-year-old who hasn't really done anything, but could be a good player in 2 or 3 years, or someone who's gone on as a sub many a times, banged a goal, got an assist, run through into the penalty box, got a penalty. I think he's perfect for Tottenham right now. Yeah. And you're going to get him, when you think about it, you're probably going to get him for 30, 40 million because probably less to be fair, because it's the wages, and Chelsea are going to get rid of him. That's
what worries me about Sterling. I think Sterling's a great shout, actually, Rossi. I wouldn't have even considered him His wages, though, will be the issue.
But then I agree. But then you say to him, look, do you want to play football or not?
Yeah.
You're going to sit at Chelsea. Cool, you can sit at Chelsea for 300 grand a week. And he might even do that just to piss Chelsea off, to be fair, because of the way they treated him. But, or you come here, you half your wages, or we give it to you in bonuses, or because we got you cheap, we can give you a bit of a signing on, whatever works out. You know, I just think you're going to get him for probably 25 to 35.
Even a loan signing. I don't see why you wouldn't loan him.
Yes. Yeah. Even if you loan him for a season and say, look, we'll cover his wages for the one season. You know, I don't know what your FPL or your leeway is with the financial fair play or anything, but
we got so much leeway, mate.
Yeah, so I mean, even if you can do that for one season, I know it's 300 grand or whatever, but for one season to see how it goes.
Why do you think we built a go-kart track under the stadium to make sure we could be good?
Well, you took Werner on loan to see how he done. He didn't pull roots up, but he didn't disappoint, and now all of a sudden you've got him back. I think still on loan, isn't he?
Yeah, another loan. Yeah.
So you know, what's the hardship there? He could get you 2 or 3 really important goals this year, and vice versa. If you get Sterling in, he could do the same.
Yeah, 100%. I think. Do you know what? I actually think it's a good shout, because that is the one position that you look at, that right wing for Spurs, and you say, well, Kulusevski prefers to play through the middle, behind the striker if he can. He's also played pre-season as a striker. So realistically, he can play right wing, but he's probably better in a midfield position. And then you look at Brennan Johnson, he's not pulling up any trees at the moment. And so that right wing position, you need someone to come in and really stamp it their own.
And not only that, if Solanke is out again, you've got the option of putting Sterling through the middle for his pace in behind and things like that, or you've got the ready-made placement. If you go Son up there, you can push him out to the left. You know, you've got a lot of options if you get that type of player in.
Yeah, and I think one thing I've said about Tottenham the last few weeks is Ange likes that interchangeable front line. He likes players to drift, one to the right to come in the centre and so forth. So he actually is a really, really strong shout. And I'll be honest, I didn't even consider him at all. We've been asked on the channel loads of times, haven't we, who'd be a good winger? He wasn't even on my radar. Well,
I think Tottenham could appeal to him as well, because he's still in London. It stays around. He's where did you? I can't remember. I'm mind blank. Where were you last year? 4th, 5th?
What did we come last year? Luke, 5th? Yeah,
5th. So you got Europa. So it appeals to him. He's got Europe. He doesn't have to move house. I just think that's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's a good shout. Whether Spurs, the thing is, we'd never pay his full wages. Like, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, no.
So it's like, even if they took him on loan,
we'd pay probably 150 and tell Chelsea to pay the rest.
Yeah. No, just whether they take that, notoriously we don't do business with Chelsea, and so it would be a difficult one. And again, like, Ange again is the type of manager who he usually likes young talent that he can mold into the way he wants, whether he thinks it's a good idea or not. But I think it is a good idea, because look, Spurs have got a lot of players out of the door since Ange has been there. Like, I think 12 players have left the club.
Yeah,
but we've only brought in 3 or 4 this summer.
Yeah, the thing is, we got a bloated squad anyway. We've been saying for how long we've been saying that we need to have a clear out, and Levy needs to be more ruthless instead of just hanging on to a player hoping he's going to get a fee for him. And that's kind of what he's been doing for years, which has led to us having an inflated, bloated squad. So we did need a clear out of 12 and to bring in 5 maybe, and then next season we have to do the same again. Bring in 5 until we
still think we're 1 or 2 short. That's the only problem. I still think we're a left back and probably a right winger short.
I mean, if Udogie gets injured, we've got Ben Davies coming in, and
crap.
Or you play Van der Ven there, I suppose. But
that's it.
Yeah, but then do
you know what? I think Tottenham, in my opinion, I've said this for banging this drum for ages. Tottenham needs to play 3 at the back: Dragusin, Romero, Van der Ven, and then your wing.
Dragusin's decent.
That's what I mean, mate. He's not even getting a sleep at the moment.
Right, quickly, Thomas brought this up earlier, and I don't want to ignore it. Thomas has said, when will the 1,000 subs giveaway be? Yes, you've actually caught me off guard, because I was going to do it, and then I thought no one remembered. But now they have. I will do it. So in the next week to 10 days, I'll post it on Twitter. It's going to be quite a good prize, so just stay tuned to our Twitter account, and I will update you all. There's quite a lot of comments. I won't be able to read all of you out. Please remember to be respectful. If you're not respectful, you will be blocked.
Don't worry about Parveen. That's Hindi. That's our FBL host on his wife's account because he's too chicken to reveal his name. So everybody's sitting there eating a kebab, trying to give us all abuse at the same time.
Love it. Bring it on.
Perfect. Right. Russ, let's move on to Arsenal. As you're on the channel, I'll give you the time to talk about Arsenal. So 2-0 win over Aston Villa yesterday. Like, one of the things I was listening to on Talk Sport last night is they said, is this the turning point in terms of Arsenal potentially winning the league? Because last season, this was the game where I think you lost away from home, and I don't think you got any points against them, basically.
Both games, yeah.
No, they done a double over us last year. And it weren't just them that cost us the title, because we lost to West Ham and Fulham as well. But yesterday, that was a big result. Weren't a great performance. I thought the team weren't great. We read our luck a lot. But if you want a challenge, you have these sort of games. I think Saka's been very poor this season. I know he scored a goal and got a couple of assists, but he's not really done a lot. He's done 2-3 things in them 2 games. All right, they've created and we scored from, but I don't know. I think he needs another rest. But yeah, I'm happy. 2-0. I'll take that all day long. We'll take that all day long.
David Clark, a classic person that comes on, and said Arsenal's daylight robbery against Villa, a shot that was 10 yards wide and hit a Villa defender smack in the face, rebounded off an Arsenal player. How Villa weren't 2-0 up by then is baffling. Can you tell me support?
David. Yes, David.
Who do you think David supports?
I ain't got a clue. We did ride a lot, but then Raya pulled off a great save from Watkins. That first one. But then before that, in the first half, Watkins had that sitter that he missed after Gabriel was messing about with it. Normally, Watkins would put that in. I reckon Villa go 1-0 up, then we don't win that game yesterday. I didn't think we were that great at all. But we're solid. We seem to be a unit and go right to the end, and that's all I can hope for an Arsenal fan, to be fair.
Yeah. How do you feel quickly under Mikel Arteta? Now he's been there quite a while. Like, how do you? Because everybody outside of Arsenal, not just Spurs fans, I believe, but a lot of people dislike Arteta for the way he is, and sometimes the kind of I like to say dark arts, that he does play a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But what do you think, of Arteta?
I feel like he has to win something this year. He's been there 5 years now. He has to win something, in my opinion. If he doesn't win the league or an FA Cup, I think we need to start looking elsewhere, because I don't think he can push us that one step further. I think this is probably the furthest he can get us. But if we win the league, then by all means, it's a great call. But I personally think that he has to win something this year.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Rose. I'm with you there completely. Arteta reminds me a lot of Poch. In that time we had under Tottenham. Yeah, I know Arteta won the FA Cup in his first season, but it wasn't his team.
It wasn't his team. No.
It wasn't his team at all. He kind of reminds me of that Pochettino will get you to the line, but then will lose his legs just before they get to the finish line. It's kind of similar. So I'm with you. I think he has to win something. I mean, I saw on Arsenal Fan TV the other day they were trying to say that Arteta's the second best manager in the league by a long shot and things like that. And I don't think he is personally, but look, he's a good manager. He's a bit of a prick, let's be honest. But I don't. I think he gives me Pochettino vibes. I don't know whether he's got enough to really get them to that next level. And they spent a lot of money. They've really backed him every year. So I think now's the time. If they're going to win it, hopefully City get points deductions. They can hand you the title, and then you're sorted, aren't you?
Well, every player's Arteta's player now, so he's got no excuses. He's had 5 years. He needs to take the cups more serious this year, in my opinion. I know we play most of our teams play youngsters in the Carabao Cup, but I'd want to win that. It's another trophy this year. Yeah. He has to win something, because there will be some managers come the end of the season. I reckon there'll be 3 or 4 managers maybe that will be floating about, maybe working for jobs. And if you don't win nothing, I reckon he should go and then bring someone to get us over the line. But who that would be, I don't know.
Yeah, that's tricky. That's the question, isn't it? Is who it would be. But then on the other side of that, I know you're saying he's been there 5 years, but then look what happens if you can give a manager a bit of time. Do you know what I mean? Because Arsenal realistically weren't even sniffing around the top 2 before he was about. You were all right in the FA Cup, and I think he's pushed them on to new levels. But I do agree. He's now got his team. I mean, I've tipped them this year. I think they'll do City even without the point deduction. I think it'd be tight, but I just really fancy
it might
Arsenal
help a little bit though.
Yeah.
I just fancy Arsenal this year. Like I say, it's the same reason I like Tottenham this year and last year. I think the togetherness, I think the team morale pushes so many points over the line. That team morale, hanging in there, cheering every challenge and things like that. And I think you've got that in both your teams at the moment. And I just think Arsenal, I think he goes to Barcelona if he goes. Anyway, Arteta, I think that's his next move to Barcelona.
Why anybody would go there is beyond me at the moment.
It's madness. But, they're going to pay you to, it's nicer weather, culture and all of that stuff. So, but I think that's where he goes if he leaves. But I don't think he chooses to leave until he wins something else with Arsenal. Now, whether that be this year, I don't think they get rid of him. I can't see them kicking him out the door to say, we've given you 5 years to build your team, and now that you haven't won anything in that 5th year, see you later. I can't see that. I think they're smarter than that, personally.
See, I totally agree, but as a fan's point of view, he has to win something this year.
Yeah.
He has to win something.
I agree. I think it is the time to go for your FA Cups, your charity, your Carabao Cups, and obviously you're in Europe. So that's the time. Put a few good teams. I mean, you've got a squad now that you can play a few good teams, even though it's not your best team.
Yeah.
Last question for you, Ross, quickly. That I want to ask you is, what do you reckon about Mikel Arteta getting rid of Emile Smith-Rowe? Because for me, as a Spurs fan, there's not much that I kind of watch or care about Arsenal, but I've always thought that he's been a really good player, or there is a really good player in there. And to kind of just get rid of him when he spent so long at Arsenal, what do you make of that? Do you think it's the right move for his career, or do you think he should have stayed?
Yeah, I'm gutted because I did like Smith-Rowe. I thought he was good, but then he had quite a bad injury.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I can't see him getting in our team. So I think Smith-Rowe going to Fulham's good for his career himself. If it was me, I'd be selfish. He'd be staying at Arsenal. But for him as a footballer, going to Fulham this sort of time now, regular football, I think he'd do all right there. Gutted that he's gone, but
yeah. I also wonder whether it was a player decision as well as a manager decision. He's I need game time now. Because there was not many players I would say I'd definitely sign from Arsenal, but he is a player that I've always thought was quality, and so it just seems like a strange one that he goes. But as you say, probably better for his career.
It's game time. Mikel's obviously said to him, look, you are a part of the squad, but he wants regular football, which you can't blame him. So he's gone to Fulham on his own accord, I would have thought, just so he gets regular game time.
Yeah, fair enough. Johnny, don't get too excited. This won't happen every week.
Go on, Johnny.
Right, Rossi, let's move on and talk a little bit about United. Because our two teams decided they'd turn up this weekend, and United, the early game curse, decided to kick them in the teeth. Last week, you got a late winner against Fulham in the first game of the season, and then a late defeat yesterday away at Brighton. Sum up for me your thoughts in general on Ten Hag.
On him personally, I mean, I think I'm glad that we've given him another year. Last year, I was a little bit in the let's get rid of him. More for the fact that I couldn't see a style of play. I couldn't see any ambition, really. We'd have a 5-minute period of knocking the ball around. You go, oh, hello. And then we'd have an 85-minute period of hanging on for dear life with 30 shots at the goal. And so last year, I was very much against him. But I am one of these that think you've got to give a manager time. You can't keep swapping these managers. And as a United fan, it's the players. We've had so many players are not performing or have been worrying about their hairstyle or their fashion line or, all of that stuff. So I don't think that's helped. Thrown manager after manager under the bus. So I think he's come in. I think he done well with the Ronaldo. As much as I love Ronaldo, he done well with that situation. Rashford turning up late. It all started really good. He's going to grab him by the balls a little bit here. But then it went a bit south. I'm glad we stayed with him. But Brighton are a decent team. I think they've got good players in every position. And I think they got backup for them players. I think they're a great. I mean, the scouting system there,
Crazy.
It's unbelievable. Like big clubs in Europe need to look at them and think this is how we do it. You know, I mean, like even if you go back to Tottenham, for instance, you've been going after the players that are going to make the difference, whereas Brighton have found them players that make the difference, but they are quite happy to buy them for 20 million, sell them for 60 million, and go and find the next player who's going to make the difference. And I just think they've done that for year after year. So I'm not overly, you know, as a United fan, obviously you want to win the game, but I could see that. I said to Russ, I think Brighton will beat us away from home. I just think they're good, they're quick. We haven't got our proper team yet. I don't think we've got our structure yet of knowing where to play. We're relying on Bruno. Rashford's terrible. Garnacho, I couldn't understand why he's starting on the bench again. Diallo's looking all right. Is looking all right. He's looking all right, but in spells again, you know, you're probably going to only get 45, 50 minutes of goodness out of him. And then Zerkzee.
Different game if he don't touch that ball.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Completely different game because we were starting to come on top and we were starting to look good. Yeah, like here you go, Welbeck. He's always against us. Standard stuff. He always scores past us. Why we ever let him go
now, mate?
Why we ever let him go, I never know. I really don't. At
he
the
must
time,
be the oldest footballer that's not that old.
Yeah, been around forever, but no one knows. Yeah, he's still in his 30s. But yeah, we shouldn't have let him go all them years ago. It's crazy because we had no one at the time that could fill that position. And look, he's carried on doing it in the Prem. And yeah, I mean, I can't speak highly enough of Brighton, but United struggling against Fulham, who again I think would do well this year. Fulham, but we're just relying so much on Bruno, and with no striker, we just I'm not overly confident, shall I say, at the moment.
No, fair enough. And what do you make of Rashford? Do you reckon you just get rid of Rashford now? Like, because as a Spurs fan looking from the outside, looking for a decent winger, I'd go and try and buy Rashford from United. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's the type of player that I think under a new manager, under a new lease of life, he could come back to the player that he was.
Yeah, he's 100% a confidence player. If he started the season with a goal at Fulham and a goal here, I'd say he'd go on and get 15 to 20 goals quite comfortably this year. But he is a donkey. He is. I mean, I've never rated him. Even when he done his good season, he's got 28 goals on even his breakthrough season. I just don't see any. He's quick, and he can bang a shot on target sometimes.
And he feeds kids.
Yeah, I mean, good on him for that. But as soon as he done that, he took his mind off what he should have been doing, and he went downhill after that. And I mean, I would sell him in a heartbeat.
Imagine him under Ange, though. Imagine Rashford under Ange Postecoglou. Oh,
but yeah, for me, I would get rid of him if you can get 50 million for him. I would be so happy to take it. When you look at, funny enough, Tottenham and United transfer wise. Why we didn't buy Maddison for, what did you get him for? 35, 40 mil?
Yeah.
Why we didn't go for that when that's the one place we needed a dictator in the park and all that. Why we didn't do that and you got him. It's just crazy. And then, so I'm not a fan of Rashford at all. I would get rid of him.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough.
Right, Dave. Arsenal talk short, mate, just like your title hopes.
More title hopes than what you've ever had, boys.
I want to come to you actually because we've heard from the boys. Just want to have a quick kind of thoughts on A, Arsenal, and B, United from an outsider's perspective.
I've said it before. I don't like praising Arsenal. I hate it. It's it pains me to do it. It pains me. I think one worry for me this season, I don't think Saliba started that great. I thought he was a bit shaky the first game of the season. He didn't look that great yesterday, and neither did Gabriel. So I think if they're going to be... what's Johnny said?
You're going to get scored 4-1, he's saying. 4-1.
What am I going to say then? I probably won't be on, mate. I'm not going to lie. But no, I think for Arsenal, if Saliba and Gabriel don't find their form in that partnership, I don't think they'll win the league. I think if they get back to the partnership that they were last season, which was dominant, the best centre-back pairing in the league last year by a country mile, then...
Still not conceded, though.
Yeah,
No,
I was going to say.
I get that, but the Gabriel mistake yesterday to let Watkins in, when he put it wide, for example, Saliba did the same sort of thing a couple of times in the first game of the season. I just think that if they don't get that together, it could be a problem a bit further on. I like Timber. I think he's a much better defensive option than Zinchenko. I think defensively he's so much better than Zinchenko. Zinchenko looked like he was sulking like mad on the bench yesterday.
He proper crying.
And also Calafiori, I thought he looked good when he came on. They got manhandled a little bit by the Villa centre back when he tried kicking off. But I can't say too much bad about Arsenal. They got Havertz playing well. You've got Havertz of Leverkusen, like you said before, Russ. And then you look at players who come off the bench like Trossard. Arsenal don't win that game about Trossard yesterday. He comes off
20 million as well.
Huh?
20 million.
Exactly. 27. You know what I mean? He comes off the bench and changes the game. And that's a good thing. But I get Pochettino vibes from Arteta, and he might prove me wrong, and you might go on to win something. But at the moment, I see a lot of similarities between the way Arsenal are now and the way Tottenham were then. We had Alderweireld and Vertonghen. You've got Gabriel and Saliba. You see what I mean? We had Walker and Rose and right back and left back, etc. That team was young and hungry and under a very young manager who didn't quite have the experience to take us to that next level. So I do get a lot of similarities between both teams, but I could be proven wrong. And, maybe he is an elite manager. Maybe he will take them to the next level. Obviously, I hope not. I hope they fall flat on their face again so I can pass around that bottle gif a bit more. But you never know. And on United, I mean, I hate to be a United fan at the moment. I would hate to be a United fan at the moment because for a club that have been so successful, and people like Rossi and Hindi in the comments, you've seen your club win Premier League, Champions League, constantly having that, winning consistently all the time. So when Sir Alex leaves, who won the league with a donkey squad before he left, shows how good of a manager he was. So then what you get now, it's like chalk and cheese. It's crazy. To me, I think Ten Hag will be gone by Christmas. Yeah, I think they'll get rid of him, and I think Tuchel will come in, personally. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure on the signings he's made. The Ligt obviously could be very, very good. Mazraoui looks good though. I'm surprised by that because I didn't think he'd be as good as he was. But Xerxes, I don't know too much about Xerxes. He just looks like Fellaini, So it's a strange one, United, but. I can't. I've seen people talking about them getting top 4, and I can't see that. I think they're a top 7 team now, and it's going to take a hell of a lot to get them back to top 4. I think with other teams, you've got Aston Villa coming out of nowhere and performing unbelievably under a really good manager in Emery. Yet to see where Tottenham end up. Do you know what I mean? You've got this collective group of teams which are taking it to the next level and improving consistently year after year. United haven't improved properly in probably 3 years. So that's a concerning thing if you're a United fan. So losing obviously yesterday at Brighton away is a tough place to go. I'm not saying it isn't, but it's Manchester United. Yeah,
should be winning it.
You should be winning that all day long, so You scraped the late winner the first game of the season. It doesn't look good. It don't look good, Brev, as they say. It's it don't look great. So it's an interesting one, but the time will tell. We're early on in the season. Do you know what I mean? In 10 games' time, they could go on a mad 8-game run and win 8 games in a row. But can I see that? Not at all.
There's just no style of play for Man United.
No, that's what I mean.
Top 6 or 7. It's top 6 or 7 all got a style you can recognise.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're all trying to morph into different styles. 1 minute they're trying to play this possession-based football, then they're trying this attack and counter-attacking football. It doesn't make sense, Russ, you're right. Each team, when you look down the league, you recognise a style of play with those teams. For a fact Guardiola's all possession-based football. You look at Arsenal, they play the possession-based with a press, for example. Tottenham attacking, pressing football, can't defend for shit. Villa under Emery, similar. You got Arne Slot now in Liverpool. The style of football he plays is very similar to Klopp. He likes that 4-3-3 system with the high press, but Slot likes to play a bit more football. You go down to United and you say, what's their style of play? What is their style of play? Yeah, I wish. Well, I've actually had a trophy in my catalogue, mate. Yeah. I wish I did support there because I'd have known what it's like to lift a trophy. I can't remember that now. I was about 10.
Last one, Rossi. What is missing from United? Is it just Haaland? What's his name? Højlund. That's
Højlund.
it. Missing? Yeah. Or like, is there more that's missing at United?
I mean, it is. I do rate Højlund. I think he will come good eventually, but it's the same thing as in many ways the Tottenham youngsters and that. You're hoping that it's going to happen. Instead of having someone that is going to get you 15, 20 goals, you're hoping that he's going to. So, I mean, for United, no brainer for me. Go and put a 30 million, 40 million pound bid in for Tony. Let's get Tony. He's going to get you 20 goals, 15, 20 goals for that season. And he's 28. You might have him for 2 good years. Go and pay that money. He'll gives the youngsters a chance to learn from, adapt and things like that. But we got a lot missing. I think we need 3 or 4 players personally to even think about competing. And I think the problem is at the moment you've got your City, Arsenal, Liverpool, who even if they're not playing their first strength, their second strength's pretty good. Whereas you got your Tottenhams, your Newcastles, your Villa. I mean, Villa, I think actually have got a really good squad. But United's, that if you take 2 of their top players out, all of a sudden you're worried that they're going to win that game. Whereas I don't think the top 3 had that problem. So I think for United, I think 3 or 4 we're quite away from challenging. But I agree with Dave. I think at the moment let's hope we're in the top 4 battle, but realistically we're 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because with Højlund, my brother's a United fan, so I do watch a little bit of United. But when you look at them and you watch him play, as you say, you're not convinced he's always going to find the back of the net. And then if he gets injured, which he is now, there's just no other player there. Rather than if you do go and get a Tony, you've then got fighting position over that striker spot. And if one of them isn't performing, they will get replaced.
This is the thing. I think is you've got to have them options. I mean, we've got that Xerxes who, all right, it's only a couple of games, but he doesn't look like he's a world beater at the moment. Højlund, who I really like, but again, are you guaranteed you're going to get 2 out of 3 out of him? Whereas if you go and buy someone like Tony, I think you are going to get 2 out of 3 out of him with Bruno Fernandes whipping balls in, Garnacho running down the line, whipping balls in, Diallo. I think you're going to get them goals from someone like that. And then, like you just said, if Tony doesn't perform, then you've got Højlund coming on. Then you've got Xerxes. All of a sudden, you've got 2 or 3 different options, which I don't think we have at the moment. We have an option where let's play this youngster. Oh, he didn't perform. Let's put this new guy in who we're not sure about. Oh, he didn't perform. And the only one who is performing for me in the United team at the moment is Garnacho, and he's leaving him out. It just doesn't make sense for me. We
actually had this discussion on the channel last week, and we were talking about, and I said that realistically, teams should have 3 or 4 players for a position. Remember United of old: York, Cole, Solskjaer, Sheringham, all battling it out for 2 places. And I said the same about Tottenham. There's no harm in having, I said about going to get Eze because, and Luke said, but then we'll have Madison, Kulusevski, Bergvall, and Eze. But I think competition is good. Is good, and I know players don't want to sit on the bench, but if they don't want to sit on the bench, they ain't right for the club, in my opinion, because they've got to want to fight for their place.
Well, and I think
when you sign a player, you say you've got Europa League, FA Cup, League Cup, and League. You're all going to get minutes, but if you want to be my number one, you got to prove it week in, week out. Personally. So I think that teams need to go back to that. Stop trying to make agents and players happy, and think of the club. Because if a player's going to come in, if you sign a player for 60 million and he's unhappy about sitting on a bench for 6 months, sack him off. Go get someone else. That's my personal opinion.
That's my point. When you look above, for instance, our teams, United and Tottenham, when you look above them, they've had that for years. They've had Grealish. Oh, well, he's not doing well. We got Doppel. Oh, well, let's go and buy that Slovenia or whatever his name is.
Slovenia.
There's one name.
There's another one. All of a sudden, you've got 3 people who can play all across the front 3, realistically, and they're all fighting for that one spot, ideally. So it's a push. So you need to get that goal, you need to get that assist, you need not to give that ball away. Whereas United, Tottenham, people like that, we haven't got that. You're going from, I mean, Diallo's looking good this year, but again, he's untested, and we've got no Sancho, who should be in anyone's team on his day, if he's playing well. So you've got Diallo keeping him out, Garnacho on the bench, Rashford who's playing terrible, no Højlund, new striker. We haven't got. We are so reliant on Bruno, and that's why I think for Tottenham you've got the likes of Maddison, Son, Johnson, Kulusevski. You've got Werner, that new Bergvall. So there's 6 people in reality looking for 4 places, maybe 5. So worst case scenario, you've got one of them good players who can then fill in, and then you can bring your Greys and your Bergvilles on to, we haven't got that. United just haven't got that.
Please pull that up.
The way Rocky pronounces Diallo is like a combination between Diallo and Dybala.
If a team has 4 players and they are fighting for that one position, they'll all be happy if they're winning something. And that, in my opinion, that's the way you win.
Definitely.
You have options.
Definitely.
That's the way you win trophies. Look at City. Players aren't kicking down the door to leave City, are they really? And if
how many times in the last 2 or 3 years I've read that Bernardo Silva's leaving.
Yeah, exactly.
He's leaving.
They're not desperate to leave. And if they
he's not desperate to leave,
City turn around and go, okay, then bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone else.
Look what they've just done to Alvarez.
Yep.
I mean, I rate him. I think he was great. But they've made a massive profit on someone, and they thought to themselves, we've got players in your position that can do the job you do, because we've built it over the years. So we're going to make a £60 million win on you, and then we're going to get someone in for, I mean, I don't know how much they paid for that new guy, but
Savinho, I think it's like 30, 40 million or something.
So they're still up 30 million, and they've got someone who might be just as good. He looks just in the first 2 games.
I think it's Salvio, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. Salvio, yeah.
Salvio,
I mean, he's looked amazing the first 2 games. Savinho. So if you can get him for 30 million, brilliant.
I'm sure it's Savinho.
No, it's Salvio, isn't it?
I think it's Salvio,
yeah. I don't know what it is.
Troyes, isn't it? Somewhere in France, Troyes or something like that.
But they got that from
Savinho. It is
Savinho.
Savinho. It is Savinho, boys. Savinho. Where is it?
Savinho. I can't read.
Oh. Okay. It's Savinho.
Anyway, let's move on. For those that's still in the chat, we'll be doing score predictions in the next few minutes. So get ready for your score predictions for Spurs versus Newcastle, or Newcastle versus Spurs, I should say. Right, Dave, really quickly, I just want to talk about Mickey van der Ven really quickly, because yesterday he got an assist for Son's second goal, around about 70 yards over the ball.
What a run.
That's ridiculous. Do you know what it reminded me of? Without beating as many players, Son against Burnley.
Yeah, Son against Burnley. Yeah.
Literally, just as soon as he picked up the ball and went, I was like, he's off here.
Where did you get him from?
Who? Van der Ven.
Yeah.
Where did we get him from again? He come from the German team, wasn't it? Was it Wolfsburg?
Wolfsburg, yeah.
Wolfsburg,
yeah. You got to give your scouts credit for that.
Do you know what, right? I am so thankful that Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool said the year before that he weren't ready for the Premier League, so they turned him down.
Mad.
A year later, he's come to us. But he has, like, his feet are on fire when he gets going. And he is disgustingly fast.
Yeah.
Like, he covers the ground in, when he went on that run yesterday, players were trying to keep up with him. They couldn't get near him. He's just taking off, mate.
Looks like he jogs.
Yeah, I kind of wished he would have had the shot and maybe got a goal himself. Because, see that from a centre-half.
Another Puskas award.
But, everyone's talking about the assist and the run. But, no, I love Mickey. I think he's unbelievable. And I think he's one of our best signings in a very long time.
I agree.
He's very good defensively. He's like the way Tottenham want to play as well. We want to play that really high, aggressive, up top, pushing, pressure. A ball gets played over the top. We've got someone who is quick enough to be able to cover that ground to get back and cover. So, yeah, he's perfect.
Yeah, but I do worry about his hamstring every time he has to do that. I think.
Yeah, but that's what you get with fast people. Unfortunately, anybody look at Michael Owen for Liverpool back in the day. It's the same sort of thing. Whenever you get someone who does have that electric pace, there's always worry about his hamstrings. I think in today's day and age, if we can manage his fitness properly and you give him the right vitamins and diet and everything else, you shouldn't really see that sort of problem.
Oh, yesterday though, it did look like at one point he was going to be like ruled out for the rest of the season at one point because he's like knees gone
mate,
backwards.
his knee, that hyperextension.
And then the next thing, he's back on and sprinting
running
running
the length of the pitch. Yeah.
Just keep us on our toes. Right, so let's go through the score prediction table really quickly. So obviously we had 2 games last week, which I nearly did forget about. Nobody got any points against Leicester because I went for 2-0 Spurs. Winnie went for 2-1 Spurs. Dave 3-1. Callum 3-2. And Wes 3-1. So none of us got any points. But
oh dear.
In the Everton game, I went for 3-0, so missed out by 1 goal. So I get 1 point. Winnie also gets 1 point. Dave gets 1 point. Callum gets 1 point. But Wes, his debut, has got 3 points. So he sits at the top of the leaderboard with 3 points. Winnie, me, Dave, and then Callum all on 1 point, which kind of brings us to the Newcastle game next week. Next Sunday, actually, I believe.
Yeah. It's Sunday.
Yeah. Good job. Someone's paying attention. Right. So just so that we're aware, as the new rules state, those who aren't on the show need to give their score predictions before the show. Otherwise, they get a 1-0 to the opposition. And everybody has got their scores in this week. So Wes, the current leader, has gone for a 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
Callum, optimistic, has gone for a 3-1 Spurs win. Winnie has gone for a 2-1 Newcastle win.
No. Judas.
I know. Dave, what are you going for?
2-1 Spurs. I think we'll win that one. They didn't impress me that much today. They didn't impress me that much today. You know, we got to break that hoodoo at some point.
Yeah.
That's
now,
true.
I was going to go for a 2-2 draw, but I don't like to go the same as somebody else, especially Wes, who's in the lead. So
yeah, he's good at that, Luke. He picks up points quite well like that.
I'm going to. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a score no one's picked, which is ridiculous, and say 2-0 Spurs. You know, after back Spurs, there's no chance of backing anybody else. But Russ, as an Arsenal fan, how do you see this game going, and what do you think the score's going to be?
You played them there. You played at St James's, yeah?
Yeah.
Was it 6-0 last year? Was it?
6-0? We've been shocking there for years, but at some point that has to end.
I think it'd be quite tight. Like David just said, Newcastle so far have been absolutely poor. They were poor against Southampton. They were poor again today. But then, I don't know. It's at St. James. I'll go 1-1. I'll say 1-1.
1-1. Nice. And Rossi?
Yeah, I was 2-2 before Wes got involved. So I'm going to stick. It just so happens that he's top, you know. What's the chances? But no, I think Newcastle have been playing in spells. 15, 20 minutes, they look good, and then they don't. And, I mean, surely it's got a game of goals in it with you two teams in it. Yeah. Surely it has to be. So I think 2-2 sounds good at St James's Park. I think that's a good result for Tottenham as well, personally.
Yeah. I take a draw 100% before the game. I will take a draw. Yeah. But looking at, you know, kind of because Wes went for a draw, but also because look at today's game and seeing them only get a draw, 1-1 draw against Bournemouth makes you think that they can get out. But 2-2 is a common score because Jazz Jones in the chat has also gone 2-2. So,
Jay's gone 2-2 as well.
Yeah, Jay's gone 2-2. Quite a lot of people think, you know, there will be goals, but it could be a draw. So, Dave, would you take a draw now before the game, knowing our record against
I want to win. No, I want to win.
Love that.
I want to win. At the end of the day, we have enough attacking prowess. We've looked better than Newcastle so far this season. And like I said, I know I've been saying hoodoos have to end and we're still waiting for the Chelsea one to end, but that's been 17 years, whatever it is now. But I don't think that will happen with Newcastle. I generally think it will come to an end, and I think that we'll beat them.
Perfect. And on that positivity, we'll wrap up. But thank you all very, very much for coming on. Rossi, as we do on every show, ask everybody to tell everyone where they can find them. So if you want to give out your socials of any kind, please feel free to do it now.
I don't know my socials of any kind, but come and watch us on Wednesday nights, 9:00. We do Fat Pod Lads, obviously, off of this channel. We just chat about FPL and Premiership and the events that have happened this week. So that's Fat Pod Lads on Wednesday, 9:00. But yeah, that's where I'll be.
Amazing. What a plug. And Russ, how can everyone find you?
You can find me at Wilson Brown 85. Also on the Fat Pod Lads at 9:00 on Wednesday night.
Amazing. And honestly, yeah, everybody go over Wednesday nights and check that out because it is brilliant. You guys do a really, really good show. Dave, how can everyone find you?
At Park Lane Pod Dave on Twitter or at Park Lane Pod. I'm active on both. Also on Facebook at a Park Lane Podcast. Also Wednesday nights, Fat Pod Lads Extra Time, action-packed show this week. Wildcard Wednesdays is the theme. Who's going to press that button? Who's not going to press that button? It's going to be a really good show. Wednesdays 9:00. So get involved.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely be hitting my wild card this week. But,
I think a lot of people will.
Definitely. If you want to follow me, you can Luke_Parklane. But more importantly, check out these lads on Wednesday night at 9:00 and check us out every Sunday at 7 p.m. as well. Jay, in the comments, I will let you know that at some point we'll be bringing back FIFA, just not tonight. Blame Winnie. Where is he? Who knows? But we will get it together at some point and bring you some more content. But honestly, thank you all so much for getting us to over 1,000 subscribers. Thank you all to everyone that listens, everyone that watches, and everyone that subscribes. Until next time, we'll end it, as we always do, with a massive "Come on, you Spurs!"
Come on, you Spurs!